My name is Chris, and the story that I'm about to tell you is a very scary and disturbing one. I advise those of you who are easily scared to continue with caution. Last chance. Alright, here we go. My friends, the Floreses, Jonathan, Saeed, and Saya, had the house all to themselves for the weekend. Their parents were in California at a friend's wedding, and their oldest sister was at a convention in Denver. They called me up to have a sleepover on Saturday, and I agreed as I was home alone as well. We invited Bobby because his parents were visiting family. At around 6, we met at the Flores' house and got started. We first ordered 2 large pizzas and soda, by all pitching in and paying for the money. We decided to ding-dong ditch, so we grabbed so many flashlights and put on our shoes and sweaters and headed outside. We all did one house each, with all of them resulting in adults cursing at us as we all ran away laughing. We were sitting underneath a large pine tree debating which house to ding-dong ditch next. We were in the Rage neighborhood, so we had a bunch of options. Jonathan suggested that we should ding-dong ditch house number 969, aka 666. As cliche as it was, the house was rumored to be haunted. Nobody had lived there for 6 years ever since the, incident. 6 years ago, there was a house party going on, and a kid who was rumored to be mentally ill came to a party with a bag full of guns. He shot up the place, killing 12 people and hurting more than 24. The kid ended up running away from the cops before they arrived. He's now number 26 on America's Most Wanted. Anyway, I thought it was a good idea, but kind of pointless since nobody lived there. And what was the point of ding-dong ditching it? I looked at the door and noticed that a paper was taped to the door. I carefully grabbed and opened the paper. I felt my heart drop. Something was up. I opened the paper up and saw what was written. Get out before you're all dead. We all looked at each other nervously. Before we could say or do anything, we heard a tap by the living room window. We all flinched in fear and looked at the window. A man with a small beard, thick eyebrows, and a leather jacket was staring at us by the window. He was smiling at us in a creepy way. We all screamed in horror and ran for our lives. We did not stop until we reached the Flores' home. When we did reach it, we all locked the doors and windows and stopped to catch our breaths. We turned on the lights slowly as we all caught our breaths. None of us spoke until Saeed broke the silence for us. What was that? He asked. I don't know. Maybe a homeless guy, answered Bobby. Maybe a serial killer. Did you see him smile at us? Said Saya. How do you explain that? 1 second he was there by the window, and the next he's gone. Maybe it was the same killer from 6 years ago, said Jonathan. None of us had an answer. The paper was weird, as maybe Jonathan hadn't noticed it at first. But the man was the most creepy part of it all. Jonathan's story freaks me out the most. We all were chilled by this and decided to go to sleep. We all had trouble falling asleep, but at around 11:45, I finally was able to doze off. I woke up suddenly for no real reason. I went to the kitchen to get some water. I poured myself a nice glass and was about to leave when I heard the porch steps creak. Slightly. Normally I would have not heard this, but I was on high alert that night. I didn't move, and I first thought that it was a cat or some other animal. I turned to go to the room when I heard the doorknob start to rattle. I nearly dropped my glass in fear. I turned and saw a faint shadow from the door. It was a large man trying to peek inside the house, but by then I had gone to wake everyone up. Jonathan was in the living room sleeping, so I shook him wide awake. I whispered to him to look at the door. He seemed annoyed that I woke him up, but when he looked at it, his face showed fear. We woke up Saya, Said, and Bobby and whispered to them what was going down. They didn't believe us. Saya went to the living room to see for himself. Bobby and Said followed him, and when they too saw the shadow, they tried not to scream. Was it the man? Asked Bobby. We need to hide, said Jonathan. We all hid quickly. I dug into an empty cupboard in the kitchen. Saya and Jonathan hid in their parents' huge closet. Bobby hid under the bed, and Said hid in the living room closet. Minutes passed and nothing happened. Then I decided to slightly open the cupboard door to peek out. The cupboard was near the screen door, and when I opened the door, I saw the figure standing outside. I bit back my scream as I closed the door. 3 seconds passed and I heard the screen door rattle. Seconds felt like hours. When the rattling stopped, a minute had passed, and I slowly got out of the cupboard. I looked at the screen door and I saw the man from the house looking right at me from outside with his twisted smile. I screamed in horror and turned to run, but I tripped on a chair. I scrambled to get up and I heard the door begin to shake violently. I told Bobby to call the cops, and he did. Jonathan and I armed ourselves with kitchen knives. Syed held a baseball bat, and Saya was still hiding in the closet. Bobby was on the phone with the cops, telling them our address and to hurry up. The cops said they'd be there shortly and to hide, run, or fight until they showed up. The man was still at the screen door. Then in a blink, he was gone. We waited for 2 minutes in utter silence before Bobby asked if the man was truly gone. I don't know. Stay alert, I replied. Everything's locked. We should be fine, said Jonathan in a nervous voice. There was a tap in the living room window. We all turned around instantly and saw the man smiling at us once more. We yelled in unison, but at that moment the police sirens were heard. We turned in the direction of the sirens, and when we turned back to the man, he was gone. When the cops arrived, we explained the situation to them, and half of them did a search on the property and nearby areas. The other half went to the house. Here's where things get disturbing. The cops did not find the man and reported the house had been abandoned for years. No sign of anyone entering or living there, or even being inside the house at all. And even more creepy news, it had snowed the previous night, and since the man had gone all around their house, they should have found his footprints. But there were none at all. No sign of him being here at all. The cops started to think that this was a prank, so they left. We did not tell our parents as they would not have believed us. We spent the remainder of the night awake on our phones or playing the Xbox. We debated theories as to what happened. Maybe we imagined it all, suggested Bobby. Was it a ghost, perhaps? Asked Said. Maybe a dream? Asked Saya. No way. It was probably a ghost, I said. What if it was the ghost of the killer? Whispered Jonathan. We all disagreed with him, as the man was still alive. But then we researched him up, and it turns out he died 3 months ago in a shootout with the cops. None of this made sense at all. We then looked up a picture of him to current date, and what we saw made my stomach and heart explode. It was the exact same picture of the man we saw at the house. That meant that his ghost or whatever had been there and had haunted us. We all swore never to speak of this again. Well, I broke my promise because 2 nights ago, Jonathan said he saw the same shadow lurking over Said's bed with that same smile on his face.